Hey everybody, it's Eric Pappenfuss. It's Friday, so it must be a buy day, and we are here at the 10th annual Harrisburg Book Festival, celebrating all things having to do with books in our great city. And we just came from the annual tent sale across the way, where I met Mary, one of our Instagram followers, and I figured, why don't we show folks what people can find in our tent among 20,000 books for only $3, $2, and $1. What'd you find?
Yeah, it's pretty great. So I found the Boston Cooking School Cookbook, always a classic.
Yeah, Fanny
as
Farmer,
well
right?
as just about, yeah, Carl Sandburg, one of my favorites from North Carolina.
Fantastic.
A Longfellow, very classic with its sleeve.
Original slipcase.
Original.
That makes it classy.
And I think that everybody needs this. It's everybody's outdoor survival guide.
Yeah, well, perfect.
Why not?
And I was just going to tell an interesting story. A lot of the books have these stickers in them, Amanda, and that's because back in 2020, there was a library sale in State College, Pennsylvania that never happened. It was canceled due to COVID. And they sent feelers out and they said, would anybody like to buy all of the contents of our library sale? And Midtown Scholar, we bought all of the books, brought them to Harrisburg in 2 tractor trailers, and we've been using them to seed these sales that we do twice a year. So our prices are even better because this book is only going to be $1. But thank you, Mary. Thanks for sharing those books with us today.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to go back to
All
the
right.
sale.
And now I'm going to take you all to the new collectibles building, which just opened today, Friday. Come on. So exciting about this is we've been in business for 20 years and we're finally culminating a vision of a sort of street row of books here by opening yet a 3rd building right here at 1306 North 3rd. If you look to the side. Come on in. Now, this is only going to be open on Fridays and Saturdays, but it is filled with collectible books. Wonderful old books, a lot of ephemera as well, and I am just so excited that we're able to do it. Let's get right to it. We're going to start by unboxing today's find, and very much in the festival theme, we're going to talk about books related to Oktoberfest and brewing. And this is a great book that just came in. It came in from our friends, the booksellers in Cooperstown, New York. I just processed it. It's called The London and Country Brewer. And if you look closely at the many parts, it's got chock full of information on how to bottle your brews, make your brews, you name it. But it also includes a philosophical account of brewing strong October beer. And do you know why they brewed beer? This is an 18th century book, but why they brewed beer in October? This actually predates Oktoberfest, which doesn't start until the Napoleonic era. You have a guess why October, Amanda?
I don't know.
Well, it was a combination of things. Both the fact that it was the end of the growing season, so they had the grain was harvested, but also because they took an entire year to ferment the beer. So in order to make beer, you need 4 things. You need water, you need a starch source, you need hops, and you need yeast. And you put those together and you ferment the beer, and you can do the beer over a very, very long period of time. In fact, I'll read you a little bit from this. This done, you must wait for the finishing of the fermentation, then put a stop in it and let it stand till the spring. For brewing ought to be done in the month of October so that it may have time to settle and digest all winter season. And then in the spring you may unstop your vent hole and thereby see whether your drink doth ferment or not. A great 18th century way of saying it. And then you continue it all the way through until next September. And that's when the beer is ready to go. One of the interesting things I learned in this book about brewing is that they had some very unique ways of keeping the beer well preserved in the 18th century. And Amanda, I thought it'd be fun to give you a quiz. There are 5 things that you could add to beer in the 18th century to keep it well preserved. These are your choices. You could add salt, stone powder, egg whites, crab claws, or oyster shells. Once again, of those 5 choices, salt, stone powder, egg whites, crab claws, or oyster shells, which do you think does the best if you put it in the beer right before you bottle it to help preserve its length?
I'm gonna guess salt.
Well, I'm afraid salt is not the best answer. Salt, unfortunately, really has a tendency to retard fermentation, and it also can get the beer tasting too salty. So they don't recommend salt. Would you care to guess again?
Oyster shells?
Oyster shells is an excellent guess. Also incorrect, because the problem with oyster shells is you can't always get the best ones, and you really have to beat off the brown part and just use the white part of the oyster shells if you want the beer to preserve. And it's not egg whites either, because they tend to dissolve over time, and stone powder will give it a little bit too much of a lime, earthy. It's crab claws. If you put some crab claws in the bottom, the crab claws are the best way of preserving beer in the 18th century. And this book is just filled with all sorts of amazing hints for the home brewer. Now, this book is also interesting because this book was published in America, the next generation after that book. And it is a book which is called Valuable Secrets of Arts and Trades, adapted for the United States of America. And what it is an entire book of trade secrets being stolen from other countries and applied to American manufacturers, or in this case, brewers. So if you want to be an artist, it teaches you how to mix paints, and if an engraver, it teaches you how to create dyes or do engravings. If you want to be a brewer, it teaches you everything that you need to know that would come from this brewing book, although it disagrees on one fundamental point. Because in the back of this book, I found it fascinating, and here it shows you they also have the complete family brewing. And by the way, brewing ale was good for the frugality of Americans and was considered something that every family should do. But you know what? You shouldn't do it in the month of October. They are completely against October brewing. Why? Because it's all about the water. If you brew your beer in October, according to the Trade Secrets book, it has the chance to be contaminated by snow, and you don't want snow to contaminate your water. It's much better, believe it or not. Snow water will take near 1/5 more malt to make the beer good. If you have river water or a pond that has a bottom that's not overly muddy, that's much better. So October sometimes sees its first snows. It's too late to brew the beer. They suggest brewing it sooner, and that is a great, great trade secret. Well, in honor of Festival Week, I figured we'd talk about Oktoberfest and brewing. But now we've got a funny book, and it is very much in keeping with Halloween and the holidays. That's right, Extreme Pumpkins 2. And they needed Extreme Pumpkins 2, I have to say, because the pumpkins in Extreme Pumpkins 1 were far too extreme for anyone to actually do at home. So when they issued Extreme Pumpkins 2, there are actually some pumpkins that I think we could see ourselves creating. Like that one doesn't look too difficult, right? And I think that is your sort of perfect alien pumpkin. But let me tell you, Extreme Pumpkins 1, there is no way you're doing any of the recipes in Extreme Pumpkins 1. And they have perhaps the most disgusting pumpkin suggestion that I've ever seen in a book of pumpkins. And I think you will agree, you've never seen anybody have a pumpkin burger on their front porch. And while I really like the use of the pumpkin seeds as sesame seeds on the top of the bun, I do not recommend grilling ground sirloin and actually putting it on your pumpkin on your front porch. I think that's going to cause a lot more problems with the neighbors' dogs and everything else than it's worth. But nonetheless, the burger pumpkin, such a bad idea that they needed yet a second book with better pumpkins. Happy Halloween, everybody. We'll see you next week for our final pre-Halloween book selection. I hope you can come out to the book festival. This building's open Fridays and Saturdays. The festival is running through Sunday. All the books, 20,000 in that, 10 across the street, $3 or less. You can't beat it. Come visit us for our 10th annual Harrisburg Book Festival.